Hi, welcome to a part of my kitchen that you rarely see. Usually I'm opposite this on the other side of the kitchen island, and that's where I do most of my cooking, but this is where I do a lot of preserving work. Now, I know that from the questions that you guys ask me that you're amazing home cooks. You really are deep into it. And I want to share with you that I think the freezer is one of those things that can really help us to be the best home cooks. Now, I think that freezing has gotten a bad reputation, mostly because things that have been frozen have not been treated well. And if you buy something frozen in the grocery store, oftentimes it's gone up and down in temperature and you get it home and it just tastes bad, okay? I'm not talking about that kind of thing. I'm talking about using your freezer in your house as a really good device for preserving food that you can then enjoy at a later date or weave into a different kind of a dish. But you have to think about two different things, I think. You first off have to think about how you're going to wrap the food that you are freezing, and then secondly, how you're going to defrost that food. Those are the two most important things. So you want something to wrap your food that's going to be really, really heavy, okay? Piece of plastic wrap around something is guaranteed to not preserve it. It's going to actually make it taste like the freezer, and we all know what that flavor's like and that we don't really like that thing. So I always keep freezer bags on hand to put things into. And then after I put my food into the freezer bag, these have the double top sealing parts. And so once I put something in there, then I always make sure that I start the seal, but leave a little bit of it open so that I can squeeze out all the air and then finish that up and then put it into the freezer. You want to get as much air out as possible. That is really essential for preserving something in a beautiful state in your freezer. Now, that's super low tech. Or you can go more high tech, and I know a lot of you have some sort of vacuum sealer in your house, whether it's an inexpensive one that's like what's called a Food Saver, that is a brand, or whether it's one more like Backmaster that I've got right here. This I have here because a lot of times I want to vacuum stuff and then take it to work and I want it to be well preserved. There's a lot of different options out there, but they all are sort of doing the same thing. They're sucking all the air out of the plastic that you are sealing something in, and then it's making a very firm seal on that. That's going to be the absolute best way that you could preserve something. And I will say that this is probably the most used piece of equipment in my kitchen because I'm usually cooking for my wife and me, and I like to make things in bigger batches, and then I will preserve it in my freezer. Now let's talk about defrosting because that's really important. There are two ways to defrost. One is better than the other, and neither one of them involves setting something on the countertop and just letting it defrost at room temperature. The first that I'll talk about is defrosting under cold running water. Cold running water, not hot running water. Hot will actually wreck the thing that you're defrosting. So cold running water, put it in a bowl, put the bag in there, and of course if you've sealed out most of the air, it'll just sink right down in, and then put it under cold running water. It uses a lot of water, and in some places in the United States there's not a lot of water, so that would not be my first choice. But to tell you the truth, my first choice always is to think about it the day before and put it in the refrigerator, because that will be a very slow defrost, and your food has the greatest opportunity to come out just as fresh as when you put it in there. A few things won't. Some things don't like to be frozen because when they are frozen, cell walls break and it gives them a kind of weird texture. But most things, if you follow what I just said in terms of sealing and then freezing and then defrosting in the refrigerator overnight, they're going to be great. Don't overlook your freezer as a really great way of preserving food.